Hello, welcome to another episode of Window Cleaning and Restoration. I'm your host, Mr. Squeegee, and this is being brought to you on behalf of WindowCleaningResource.com. Today we're using a different kind of product in this episode. We're going to use a powder, and it's the new powder. It's our powder, Mr. Squeegee's Hard Water Slayer Powder. That's available exclusively at WindowCleaningResource.com. Now, what makes this different than the others, of course, like I say, it is a powder. You've got the lid where you can use it either a lot if you need it to make a slurry, or paste, or a little bit at a time. Now, as with the other products, one thing we didn't mention is you can put this right on a strip washer. If you want to sprinkle this a little bit on a strip washer and apply it that way, you can. You can do that with some of the other products as well. The benefit of the powder is it's going to set on the top of there and really be able to be applied to that. Some of the thinner products we've used might soak into the strip washer and be a little more difficult. Some of the paste, though, the thicker paste, would no doubt benefit with the strip washer application as well. So the nice thing about this is, again, it can be used for any of the hard water stains that the others can. You can use it also to remove silicone. We talked about how the BioClean works on tree sap. One of the benefits there is that with some of the sticky residue things like tree sap or silicone, a powder really helps to gum them up, to take some of that stickiness away, and it's easier then to use some bronze wool or a white pad to get those things off of the window. So that's another benefit to products like that. So this one, we're just going to take a little wetter than normal white pad. Times you'll keep this fairly dry when putting other kinds on there, but one of the things is it benefits from being a little wetter when the powder. Just sprinkle a little on, and then you're able to rub it in. And as usual, I didn't get mine wet enough. That is the one drawback to a white pad, is that being porous, you'll lose your water fairly quickly. So you want to get that in there, get it on there fairly quickly. And you're going to scrub that in, really work on those stains. So we rub it in just like normal, and again, as always, we want to concentrate on our edges and work from the top down. And we want to take our scraper then, and work on that. Move that. Now we're going to wet it down as usual. Again, as I said before, a lot of times you're going to be pushing some of the stuff into the edges, so you want to make sure that you've soaked those edges really good to get the chemical out of there. And then we're going to squeegee it off with our Slayer channel, just like normal. And there we go. And as with all the products that we've used in the series so far, they do an excellent job to get rid of the hard water. It looks like I left a streak on the back of the window. There we go. Tried to make sure I cleaned the back of the window, but obviously I missed a streak there. So again, you can use that on a variety of methods to apply: sponge, white pad. You could apply it directly to your bronze wool if you wanted, to your strip washer sleeve. One of the benefits of using a powder, where we're at, of course, it gets cold in the wintertime, and some of the other products I have to make sure I take out of the vehicle. I don't want them to freeze up because it could rupture the container, or it could just ruin the product by freezing it. So I want to make sure I have this in my pouch, because then I go to the door. Maybe I've got a hard water issue and it's in the middle of winter. Occasionally that happens. So then I got my powder with me, and it's not going to freeze on me, and I can just apply it with my regular solution. So that's one of the benefits to having a powder over having the others. Otherwise, they all work well for what they're designed for. Again, as we said before, maybe there's silica, and we talked about the possibility of using a hydrofluoric acid. What we didn't discuss is what I want to take a minute to talk about right now, and that's the possible damage called tin etch haze. This glass, and all glass manufactured in this country, is called float glass. And that means it comes out of the oven floating in its molten state on another layer of a molten object, and that's tin. So the molten tin's flowing on the bottom, the glass is on top, and they keep separated, with the exception of a microscopic amount of molten tin that will embed itself in that surface of the glass. Then the glass comes off the molten tin and on the conveyor belts as it cools. But for the life of this glass now, one side or the other has a layer of tin in it. A hydrofluoric acid actually breaks down that tin, but not all the way. So what happens is you get a discoloration where the tin reacts to the hydrofluoric acid, and it's an etch, it's a haze, and it shows up bad on the glass. So in order to avoid that, you may have to invest in a small handheld UV light, and if you're on the tin side of that glass, that light will reflect a grayish hue. That will tell you right away that's the tin side. If I use hydrofluoric on there, I'm going to end up with some cooked glass, a bad product. And again, as we said, this is restoration, so the customer needs to be made aware of that. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we miss one. We didn't get it tested like we thought we did. In order to avoid that danger, my advice is to go to another option, and that's a scratch removal system. The scratch removal system will abrade all that silicone and heavy oxidation right off the glass without the danger of tin etch haze. It's more costly to purchase up front, but again, you avoid the health hazards of the hydrofluoric acid and the possibility of a tin etch haze. There is one drawback that you run into when dealing with any hard water stain removal, and that what they call pyrolytic coatings. Those are metallic coatings that are applied. Sometimes we see them on they're like a mirrored surface on the glass, or they're gold, or they're like a smoke colored black. They're just done to help reflect light, for appeal, but whatever the case may be, you can't touch one of those coatings with hydrofluoric acid, or it'll burn it off. It'll just take it right off. The same is true of a scratch removal system. You take a scratch removal system to it, it cuts the coating off. So that being said, if that surface of the pyrolytic coating is on the outside where the hard water damage is, that glass is pretty much ruined. So there's not a lot you're going to be able to do with that. So those are just some of the precautions to think about when you're getting into this kind of work. These are a lot of the products that you can use to do some basic hard water stain removal. And later on in the series, we're going to talk about a couple other products for some specific situations in construction cleanup and other things. We've got in case you run into films and stickers, and even if we're dealing with cement. So some of the things that we're going to cover yet later on, but hopefully you've enjoyed this. This has been another episode of Window Cleaning and Restoration. I'm your host, Mr. Squeegee, and on behalf of Window Cleaning Resource, I'd like to thank you.